Does your mind ever wander off to faraway places or dream up impossible things? I know mine does, and my wild imagination is something I have always been fond of, even though my teachers often felt otherwise when my mind was elsewhere during class. However, in the article Memorial Consequences of Imagination in Children and Adults by Alp Aslan and Karl-Heinz Baum, there have been recent studies in Germany proving a correlation between imagination and the improvement of memory recall. Playing make-believe and making up over-exaggerated scenarios were two of my favorite things to do as a child, and teachers should be encouraging building students' imaginations. According to the article, How to Develop Children's Imaginations by Amanda Hermes, children with a healthy imagination are often more engaged. Three books that really challenged my imagination as a child were Wacky Wednesday by Dr. Seuss, Where the Wild Things Are by Maurice Sendak, and Harold and the Purple Crayon by Crockett Johnson. If you get a kick out of cats and strollers, books and trees, flying cars, palm trees growing out of toilets, and all things gone wacky, then Wacky Wednesday may be the book for you. I remember having the best time sitting in bed with my mom before bed as a child, laughing at the silly day this child was having, trying to find what is wrong in each scenario. I hope the next generation of children appreciate its humor as much as I did. The story begins with a child waking up and discovering a shoe on the wall. Then I looked up and I said, "Oh, man," and that's how Wacky Wednesday began. The rhyming sentences and vibrant, large illustrations make the book more fun for the reader and draws them in. Once he starts his day, he begins to count all the things that have gone awry, and children can practice counting along with him while finding what does not belong as well. In the bathroom, more. In the bathroom, 4. While he comments on each thing wacky, he tells the Sutherland sisters that they look wacky too, and they say, "Nothing is wacky around here but you." "But look," I yelled, "8 things are wrong here at school." "Nothing is wrong," they said. "Don't be a fool." He tells his teacher what is wrong in his class, and she startles him, shouting, "Nothing is wacky here in my class. Get out. You're the wacky one. Get out." Imagine living in a world where everything seems chaotic and out of place. Some days will seem perfect and others will feel, well, wacky. There is no such thing as a perfect day, but if we ignore the imperfections, eventually everything will look up. And Wacky Wednesday was gone, when I counted them all, and I even got rid of that shoe on the wall. Hermes mentions in her article that creative imaginations help build problem-solving skills, and this book helps encourage strength in both areas. The book Where the Wild Things Are does not have wildly mismatched colorful pictures, but the textures of the unique drawings make the pages really interesting to look at. The story starts off as Max causes mischief all around his house dressed up as a wolf. His mother calls him a wild thing, and when he yells back at his mother, telling her, "I'll eat you up," he is sent to bed without supper. Similar to my childhood, when I was sent to my room alone, I would often dream up wild fantasies. However, I was never able to travel to them quite the way that Max does. Max's room slowly starts to grow vines, and the walls around him become a forest. He travels in and out of weeks and almost over a year to where the wild things are. When Max docks his boat on the land of the wild things, he discovers just how terrible these wild things can be. And he discovers just how hard it is to tame wild things who cause mischief, just as he had done to his mother. Max eventually decides to sail back home, where he returns to his bedroom with hot supper waiting for him. And even though Max was sent to his room without supper for causing mischief, he still found a way to have fun in his room all by himself. He used his creative mind to imagine of a whole new world of forests and wild things. Hermes also mentions in her article that the passionate childhood that comes from a vivid imagination inspires creativity in the future. Harold and the Purple Crayon probably has some of the most simple pictures I've ever seen in a children's book, while also being really amazingly imaginative. The story takes us through the adventure of a little boy who draws up his own adventure with a purple crayon. The story starts where there wasn't any moon, and Harold needed a moon for a walk in the moonlight, and he needed something to walk on. similar to Where the Wild Things Are, he draws up his own forest. He didn't want to get lost in the woods, so he made up a small forest with just one tree in it. It turned out to be an apple tree, and the apple would be very tasty, Harold thought, when they got red. So he put a frightening dragon under the tree to guard the apples, and it was a terribly frightening dragon. It even frightened Harold. He backed away. His hand holding the purple crayon shook. And suddenly he realized what was happening. But by then, Harold was already under his head in an ocean. He came up thinking fast, and in no time he was climbing aboard a trim little boat. If Harold does not have something, he simply imagines it and draws it. From a picnic with 9 kinds of pie to a city that has buildings with tons and tons of windows. Harold has one crayon, but because of his imagination, he lives an endless adventure. The books I chose demonstrate the importance of creativity and daydreaming. It is so valuable for children to use their imagination and to build it in their early childhood years. From finding what is not right in Wacky Wednesday, to adventuring with wild things in the forest of Where the Wild Things Are, and drawing up imaginary lands in Harold and the Purple Crayon, children can use these stories to build up their own imaginations and set sail for their own make-believe stories. Stories like these are what is going to shape the minds of our future generation of children.